already see Amanda in the chat.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Amanda. Right, so you just key in 123, then you click on join.
One, two,
Let's hope this works.
1, 2, 3. Just
One,
1,
two,
2, 3.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then click on join.
Does it matter if I zoom into the page?
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I click on join. Okay.
Does it work? Is it working? No, it's not
It's
working.
not working. I
Why?
have to capture your screen,
It's
John.
not working.
Alright,
Why?
once we get it working, then you can start talking about like what it is that you're working on. I just
Why?
realized that I set up the text so that whatever chat is going on will appear on my screen, but I think that's broken. It's not working.
Everything is broken.
So I think I will just turn it off lah. Hang on.
Wait.
Wait, which one is it? Ah, there you go.
Can you refresh my page? The 1 acre wood thing.
Sure, why not?
You refresh it, then you type 123, then host. And you just click on
Will
host.
refreshing work, or should I run it in incognito?
You can run it in incognito too. I always run it in incognito.
Sure, just a moment.
I tested it earlier, it was working.
No, I mean Murphy's Law lah. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, is it?
And then you host. Click on host.
I host. Okay.
Well, actually, it doesn't really like. Okay, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. And apparently it's not working. Bad.
Real-time debugging. Let's go, John.
Live debugging,
Live
let's
debugging. Live
go.
debugging.
Oh my goodness. Why? Why is this
Or,
happening
or
now?
you can just showcase it locally. I'll capture your screen.
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
Whichever one you like. Whichever of the option you like. I'll just follow along.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Give me a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Share your screen. Wait, no. Screen. Go live. Okay.
Okay, now let me try to figure out how to capture this thing.
Is it still doing it? Is it still streaming?
Yeah. No. Let me. I just want to capture. Let me click on the pop-up and I will capture your screen.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should have prepped all of this before we start streaming.
Everything is broken.
Hang on, eh?
Why?
What am I looking at? Okay. Let me resize it.
Wow.
How much of your screen are you actually showing? Oh,
I'm showing 2 browser windows. Do you see?
you're showing 2 browser windows, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's messed up.
Do you see like 2 orange dots moving on my
No,
screen?
I only see one instance of the browser. Hang on. It's
Oh,
getting cut off in a
sadness.
very unnatural manner.
I can always squeeze the windows.
Hang on.
See. Boink, boink, boink. Boink, boink, boink. Do you see 2 browser windows?
Okay, let me resize the whole thing. Yeah, I just couldn't see the end, the bottom.
The bottom? Oh, but now you can see everything.
Yeah.
the two orange circles, the two blue circles.
No. Hang
Only
on.
one. Only one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you move the blue upwards and I'll be able to see it?
Okay. Oops. I guess. Huh. This is gonna be weird. Uh. Okay. Wait. Oh. I can move it. Can you see two blue circles now?
Okay, you know what?
Oh.
Hang on.
Uh,
Oh, Amanda asked if we have eaten. I have eaten. Have you?
I have eaten two.
You have eaten too.
In fact, I
That's
had
weird. Sorry, what? Say it.
Amanda's cooking for lunch.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Well, she cooked for me last night, and then I have leftovers.
I see. Okay, that explains it.
Uh,
Uh, uh, uh. Okay, how do I not
yep.
make it pop up anymore? Ah, screw this thing. Hang on, I'm gonna click on stop watching, and I'll see what happens.
Right. Actually, maybe I should shift my Discord to. Oh no, I think it's working fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Let me get back to watching it. Wait, how do I watch it? Can you share again? My bad.
Share your screen.
It's amazing. I think we are 10 minutes in. If not, we have not started.
Do you see
Yeah,
anything?
okay, yeah, I see it. I see it
Awesome.
now.
Do you see like two circles and it's not much of a shmup, but
Why don't you
it's
explain? Why don't you explain the? So what has changed since last week?
what has changed since last week? So I've done three major things.
Yeah.
First, I implemented rollback networking. So I keep a history of the game state. I keep like 60 times 10, so 60 frames a second, 10 seconds. So I keep 600 frames of history of the game state. And then I send your user input across the network. The only thing I send is the inputs for the given frame that you're on. So I count the frames like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way. And so I'll send only your inputs, whether you press up, down, left, right, and send it across the network. And then with rollback networking, I am able to, when I receive an input, I check, is this input the same as the frame that it was supposed to be the input for? And then I run through the history, and then I re-simulate the frames up to the current time, so that I get back the exact position that you're supposed to be in.
So
So if you're
the packet that you're sending over includes the input and the frame number.
packet, yes, the input and the frame number.
Ah.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that both clients starts at the same time?
So that's another thing that I had to do,
Right.
which is I send a ping message, and the other side will reply with a pong, and then I calculate that would be the round trip time. Right now, I'm using a very rudimentary system. A more advanced system would collect more frames and then find
Get the average, is it?
yeah. In this case, just a quick hack. I just want to see if it works. I send one ping, and then when it comes back, I take the time difference, and then I halve it to get the time to send, like the delay from me to you. Right? And then I say I'm gonna start 10 seconds from now, but the delay is maybe 2 seconds to send to you, and then 2 seconds back to me. So I'll tell you, you start 8 seconds from now, from when you receive this message, while on my end I will start 10
10
seconds from
seconds.
when.
Right, and that's
Yeah,
assuming that the packet reach you in 2 seconds.
yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Of course, we are using arbitrary values here, right? Obviously, it cannot be 2
Yeah.
seconds or 10 seconds. Right.
That would be pretty terrible experience.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So, yeah.
And yeah, so the third thing I implemented was input buffering. So the problem with the rollback was it was still kind of looking weird because for two reasons. One was that they were my game, the network game was starting at different times, and two, the problem with the rollback was that it was getting the it needed to
Sorry,
use
sorry.
the
You say
current
starting at
frame.
different times? I don't quite follow. I thought you have
Oh,
already handled it.
that was before I implemented that, starting
Oh.
at the same time.
Okay.
So the order I implemented these was I implemented rollback networking, input buffering, then the start time syncing.
Ah, I see.
So rollback networking, the problem I encountered with that was because I was using input for the current frame. Like the moment you press down, it will move down on that frame. But the problem with that is you're not going to receive the current input from the networked player until the next frame, right? Because or if he starts slower than you, right? So slightly if he starts slightly later, it's very hard to sync up. Like I get your input on this frame and you get my input on this frame at the exact same time,
Right.
and in time for you to simulate the frame. So it leads to a bit of jankiness. So I implemented like a 4-frame input buffer. So when I press down, it's gonna take a tiny bit of time before your object moves, but I think it's still kind of acceptable.
In fact,
So this,
that's the standard for fighting games, right? For the current fighting games, right? That they
right,
actually
I
have
think
both input buffering and a rollback
rollback.
netcode, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the way it works. At least for the GGPO or whatever it is.
Right.
That was, yeah.
But
At
sorry.
least that's what I read,
The
as far as I
the
understand it.
rollback is to ensure that the at the very least the buffering, the input buffering doesn't have to be that huge, right? Right. We can
Yeah,
keep
rollback is to there are a few reasons for rollback, I guess.
right.
One is so that you only need to send in the inputs. You don't need to sync any other kind of state. The only state you're syncing is the inputs. And so you roll backwards and then you simulate forward again to make sure that everyone ends up in the kind of the same state. I
Right.
think that's the main reason for using rollback.
Right. But the
I
side
mean,
effect is that
okay,
the input buffering does get how do I put it? You don't have to spend so much. You don't have to buffer the input for too long, right? Like with the
I
rollback
guess so.
netcode. Because there are fighting games that just rely on input buffering, right? And the
Right.
outcome is that it's extremely non-responsive, right?
Right. So, yeah, I kind of misspoke on the benefits of rollback. So the other way of doing networking is to do lockstep, right?
Okay.
Which means that you both have to run at the same thing. If your input doesn't come in, I wait for you. If my input doesn't reach you, you wait for me, right? And then input buffering helps with that because you don't need the inputs immediately, so you can have maybe a few milliseconds, a few frames of delay, and you still be fine.
Right.
Rollback allows you to just simulate forward, and then if you receive the input and then it doesn't match what you predicted at that point in time, you just go back to that point in time, then you re-simulate forward until you reach the current time frame, current
Nice.
frame.
Nice.
So you're not running lockstep.
Right. That brings us to the question that I asked you last week, right? Which is, how does your main game looks like now, given that you have
Mm,
to resimulate everything, right?
right. So let's see. How does the game look like? Can you see my terminal?
Yeah, you might. Are you able to zoom in with your terminal? No, right? Why
No.
don't you just use Oh, you can.
Okay.
I was gonna say why
Hey,
don't you
what?
just use something simple like text edit, but apparently you can zoom in terminal.
I can zoom in the terminal. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Anyway, so I have this function called get next frame, get next state.
Yeah.
So I take the current state or state you want to simulate from, and then I give you the inputs for that frame and the buffered inputs. Don't worry too much about this. This is just like it was a very hacky way of just making sure which inputs I'm supposed to use. But anyway,
Okay.
so game loop, it's over here. It's tick. So basically, I get I check my list of inputs that I've gotten from the network, and then I push them into my history. My history object will mark a frame as dirty if the input doesn't match the predicted input for that frame.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I get the earliest
Okay. Sorry.
dirty
Sorry. Sorry.
frame.
Can you repeat? Like it doesn't match the what?
Oh, so because I'm keeping track of all the inputs, right?
Yeah.
My inputs and the network players' inputs.
Mm.
But if the network player's input doesn't reach me, I will just predict the input. Right? It's either I use the last frame's one, the previous frame's input, or I will just assign a zero, meaning you didn't press any buttons.
Right. Right. But the
So
former
once
is a more popular approach, right?
yeah,
The
although
simulating previous frame input. Yeah.
in my super hacky way of doing this, I think I just give you
Set zero.
zero,
I see. I see.
which is why it's kind of looking a little janky right now. But
Uh,
using the previous frame, I think would
so
help.
it's correcting a lot more than it probably would have otherwise, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Right, so I take your inputs and then I throw it into my history object. The history object will find the correct frame, and then it will update the input. If the input doesn't match the predicted one in history, then I will mark that frame as dirty. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here at this point, then I do a resimulation of all the dirty frames. So basically, I get that frame, or I get the previous frame, then I run a get next state, get the state of that previous frame. I run get next state to get the dirty frames, what the dirty frame supposed to
Right.
end up being, and then I push it into I set it in my history object, and I go forward until I reach the end of my history object. So that means I'm at my current state already. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And
How?
then I will.
Okay. Well, when you process this entire list of this history, right?
Mm,
What is your expectation of like how many input would be in there?
so I told you I have 60 times 10, 60 frames a second times 10 seconds, which is 600 frames.
Right, but
I'm hoping it doesn't.
yeah, it shouldn't be that. It wouldn't be that long, right? In
Yeah,
real.
it wouldn't be that.
Uh,
In real situations, you don't want 10 seconds of lag. But right now, it's super hacky, so I'm just like, just throw in some numbers that will guarantee that it will work.
so is it right to say that you will have to re-simulate all of the frames starting from the earliest instance of a dirty frame?
Yeah, that's right.
So the moment you see that dirty frame, right, you can just start simulating right away, right, from that point on to the
Yeah.
current frame.
Mm.
Oh, oh,
So, which is why I run through all the. So I have this thing called other inputs. This dot other inputs. These are the inputs from the other player, your network player. I have this map where I push whenever I receive a network request, I push it into this mapping from frame ID to the inputs for that frame,
right.
and then I run through it first so that I can find all the frames to mark 30. Then after that, then I start from the earliest 30 frame and then move forward all the way to the current time.
Oh, I don't understand. Why is there still a need to mark all the dirty frames when you are going to basically recalculate from the earliest point on?
Oh, actually, yeah, you don't really need to. It's
Uh,
just that I need to run through all of them, all the network players' inputs first. You can imagine this is a list I've collected of all the network players' inputs that I haven't pushed into my history yet.
Oh,
So I need
oh.
to run through all of them to update the latest input. Then I will run the simulation.
Oh, because what you
So
have
then,
on your end are like predicted ones lah.
yeah, the predicted one.
Right,
So
right,
I need
right.
to push in all the actual ones first. Then after that, I run the simulation. It doesn't really make sense to push in, run simulation. Then after that, I have to push in again, then run
Right,
simulation.
right. That's good point, good point. So basically you update to the correct input and then you simulate based on the updated list lah.
Mm.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much the game loop looks like this. Get all the network inputs, put into my history, find any dirty frames, and then simulate all the way until the current time. Then after that, do the final, the normal game loop, the normal game state, next game state.
Ah, that's cool. That's cool.
Because that earlier step was just simulating everything that's in history until the latest entry in history. But in your game loop, you still need to find the next frame,
Mm.
right? Yeah, which is your normal one. If you ignore the history part, then this is just the normal part of your game loop.
Right, right, right.
Mm. And then
Ah.
after that, I push this new state into history, into the history queue.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Ah, that's cool. I was just wondering, right?
Mm.
Uh, suppose like I work on say my chapter game, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm going to start it off as a local multiplayer because that is faster to implement, right?
Right.
What do you think I have to keep in mind, right? If I want to in future, right? Uh,
Mm.
uh, uh, Add in the multiplayer, the online multiplayer,
Right.
right?
So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
one of the problems that I kind of faced with our Brovilla project
Right.
was the fact that uh, the visual state was tied so closely with the state that we're keeping track of. So it was very hard to maintain the history of the object. Well, another thing was because we don't really have like good data structures in
Mm.
GameMaker, right?
Mm.
But maybe now it's
Now
possible.
it's different now, yeah. But what
Yeah.
do you mean by visual state?
So my my the things that I store in, I can show you what I store in my, where is it?
On Broiler?
Not Brovilla, but for this one,
On this one,
what I
okay.
store is my game state. My game state really just contains uh, frame ID, and right now it's just the player state, which is just the X and Y. You probably
Mm.
need to store the velocity X, velocity Y also,
Okay.
and the inputs. But yeah, um, and then like visually, uh, I want to be able to say that this is the current position that you're at,
Mm.
but what I displayed in the previous frame was maybe at a different location. So right now, if you look at the demo, uh, it's kind of janky. So I'm moving the one on the left,
Right.
but the one on the right is, you can see that there are points where it just kind of stops.
Mm.
And so what you want to do is you want to be able to tween to the the actual position instead of just popping it there, right? Right. So that it
Mm.
looks kind of smoother instead of just popping,
Right, right,
popping.
right.
Right.
Have you measured how big the latency is?
Uh, Normally it isn't that bad, but because I'm sending to you, so apparently the round trip time was 267 milliseconds. So
267
it was
milliseconds. That's
it was
point
like
two lah, is it?
100, yeah, 0.2 seconds,
Uh,
0.26 seconds.
point two, point two quite big, right?
Yeah, it is very big. Partly because I'm streaming sharing my screen with you right now. But
Ah.
when I tested it earlier, it was maybe like 10 milliseconds. The
Mm.
round trip time was what, 10 milliseconds or so. When I tested without talking to you on the through this
Uh,
through this call.
right. And was it still janky?
It wasn't so janky.
Ah,
It's just slightly janky.
right,
So I will still need to tween the positions to make it look smoother.
right. I bet if you were to just assume the previous frame's input as the current frame input, that would
Right,
solve like most of your problems.
right. Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, maybe you should try that first and then see if that helps, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Previously, it did. I did implement like using the previous frame's input,
Yeah.
but then when I did the input buffering thing, I just kind of messed up the whole code and just I'm just gonna stick zero in there.
Keep it simple first. Lor.
Yeah.
Ah, I see, I see.
Yeah, so there's still a lot to work on. I don't know if this will ever make it uh, into an actual production, actual game.
But the effort could lead to an actual production. It may not be this game, but it could be another game, right? Like your
Yeah,
Broilila, your experience with Broilila definitely contributed to how you approach this, right?
yeah,
Then yeah, like if you can finish it, it'll be cool. But if not,
mhm,
then it could be a next one.
yeah. So anyway, I was thinking back to your question about what you need to keep track of.
Yeah.
I think you need to keep track of your history, like the previous frames. What were the things um, that are necessary in order for you to get from one frame to another frame to predict to simulate to get to the next frame.
Mm.
So think about all those variables that you need to keep track of, and these are the things that you store inside a game state object.
So I think about it, right, and it can be a bit horrifying, right? Because
Mm,
some of the logic may be tied to like the which frame of animation you are in.
right,
Right?
right,
So now you have to keep track of that. Then you
right,
may have to then there may be implementation of like slow motion, right? And sometimes slow
right.
motion, right, it's not binary, right? It's not like, oh, is it normal or is it slow motion? Sometimes
Mm,
the slow motion variable that determines how slow you simulate the movement,
mm,
we
yeah,
might actually twin that particular variable. So now you have to
right,
keep track
right.
of that. And what happens if like I'm using a twinning library,
Mm,
right? So what
right,
happens if a variable is in mid twin? What do I do now?
right.
Right?
So yeah, so one thing to do is to find a tuning library that allows you step uh, to set like your steps and to save the state of the of the tween.
Save the state of the tween. Oh my god. Okay, okay.
Either save the state of the tween, or you can save the time that the has elapsed for that tween.
Mm.
So every time you call the tweening function, you have to pass in the time variable as well,
Mm.
or that allows you to reset the time variable or something like that.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Oh, not easy.
yeah, it's not easy. So like in this case, it's best to think of uh, the data structure that you're using to simulate to the next frame. That thing has to be immutable. Uh, or when you call the function simulate next frame from this frame,
mm.
it should not modify. It should not modify the object that you pass in the from state. It should not be modified so that you can save it, and then it gives you a completely new object that you
Mm.
can also save. Right?
Right,
And then all your visual stuff will have to be based off of that state.
right. Okay, okay. So the architecture has to be set up right from the very start. Lah.
Yeah, it helps to set up your architecture from the start.
Otherwise, it's hell, right? To refactor everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Then I guess another thing that could help is you can think of which objects are important to save, which objects are not important. So stuff like particle effects, you
Mm.
can probably leave them on the screen. They'll disappear anyway. If you predicted wrongly, you spawn some particles, just leave them on the screen.
Mm. True, true, true.
It doesn't really matter. They'll
Right.
disappear. And then when you resimulate, maybe you need to consider like, oh, I need to, the particles started on frame like 10 frames ago, and then now I need to tell my particles to move forward 10 frames or something.
Mm.
These are things that I'm still trying to explore. That's why I'm just setting up the base first. Then I'll slowly add on more stuff. Maybe
Right.
next week I'll try to add like particle creation and stuff like that. When you fire bullets and stuff,
Yeah.
Because these entities, when they spawn on your button press. So I spawn on my side, but what about your side? Will it spawn at the same time, or what will happen? So I need to figure that one out.
Mm. Right, right.
Mm.
Particles.
Particles, bullets. In the shmup, you have bullets.
Ah, yes,
Then
yes. So the
these
basic
bullets,
you're talking about the game critical to gameplay stuff lah.
yeah.
Right,
And it
bullets.
says bullets that are critical to your gameplay.
Mm.
Sparks that appear when you fire a bullet, these are not critical. I need to figure out like which ones I can save, which one I cannot save, and
Mm.
it gets more complicated, I guess.
Yeah, lor, yeah,
So
lor.
let me think about that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. It feels like you have done quite a lot already. That's awesome.
Yeah, but only 2 circles to show for it.
2
Go
circles.
little circle, do.
No, I think that looks pretty cool. Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's nice.
all I have.
That's nice. Yeah, we love to see an update when you do the when you adjusted the prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Your turn.
My turn.
Yeah,
Might have nothing technical, so I'll just show what I have. Hang on.
show.
I'll show. I'll show. Give me a moment. I'll show. If you just excuse me for a moment. I think it's better if I run it in Firefox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just running in Firefox is better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, wait. I need to share it on Discord.
Yep.
Uh, share screen. Yes, got it. Look at me streaming to two different places.
Your computer will explode tomorrow or in 10 seconds.
Yeah. It's going to
Yeah,
explode.
Train Top Mania.
Yeah. So unfortunately, right, as I've told you already, right, I don't have the time to. I couldn't find the time to work on the dungeon room generation from last week. I will work on that soon lah. I will work on that soon. So at the moment, my top priority, right, is to finish Train Top Mania, right? Yeah. So Train Top Mania. If I haven't already talked about this, Train Top Mania is a one-button shooting game. Where you are on the top of the train, right, and you're shooting at the monsters coming at you, and it's all one button. So it all boils down to your timing as you. Oh, wow, that's loud. Hang on. Right.
Well, I don't hear it, so.
Right. So it's a very simple game, and you have played it, right? So what happens is I approach a web publisher, and they suggested that I add the features, right, to improve the retention of the game. So that's what I did. So if you notice, there is this extra bar here, right? Yeah, this is the new thing that I've added. So basically, as you play, right, your score gets tabulated. So there is a persistent storage for how many kills you have achieved, right? And that keeps piling on, and as you pile on your points, you cross milestones, and for each milestones, right, you unlock a character. So I have something very simple done. So if you notice, right, the moment you cross the first milestone, there's this icon that appears. This is the character icon lah, or skin, right? And these are the characters. So at the moment, I only have 4 characters. Right, there are 2 more that I do not know what to add. I'm still thinking about it. But we have the standard character, right? Then we have the other character, which is the alternate, right? It's one guy, one girl. Then I have the skeleton because I'm running out of ideas by that point. And then I have a monkey. I have a monkey. Yeah. So that's it. That's it.
Cool.
Right. So each milestone you cross, you unlock a new character. Like we can play as the skeleton guy, right? And then if I restart, and there we go as a skeleton.
Cool.
And that's really it. That's really it. So the whole point, right? The whole point, the reason why they asked me to increase the retention is because on their website, right, they do not serve any ads until the player has played for more than 2 minutes. And the nature of my game, right, means that uh, uh, people tend to like play a few rounds and then be like, oh, okay, I'm done, like, and I'm done for the day, and then they will move on. So they wouldn't have played it for more than 2 minutes before they moved on, which means that no ads will be shown.
Right.
Right. And they suggested that there are two things that they suggested. So you probably by this point you have noticed this white box here. This white box is the native ad. Which is like no banner ads from in mobile games. Yeah, that's one. Right.
Yeah.
It's not showing up here, maybe because I'm like hosting this locally. But if it's not showing up when it's hosted on the Poke site, then I'll have to talk to them and try to troubleshoot what's going on here. Right. So that's one thing. This is one. So this is one of the things that we implemented to try to handle this monetization issue. The other is the characters. Oh, look, all monkeys. Yeah, because don't have extra characters. Right. So you get the
A
idea.
barrel of monkeys.
Sorry.
A barrel of monkeys.
What of monkeys?
Barrel of monkeys.
Barrel of monkeys.
Just random thought.
A barrel.
But anyway.
Right. There's a lot of monkeys. It reminds me of that one comic. Not comic, graphic novel of Hellboy, right? As this is one often people often use it as a meme, right? Of this monkey holding a gun.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, I have not seen that before.
Oh wait, I didn't notice Amanda has a question. Would the latency between input improve with better computer specs, or is this more of optimizing the code? This is in relation to your demo.
The latency thing is more of a network issue. But yeah, I guess like if your computer is kind of busy sending lots of stuff, then maybe like I think or rather my network was congested just now because I was running
the stream, right?
the video streaming, the streaming to your computer, right? And then the video call chat, voice chat, and all, and then still trying to send packets across the network. So that was a bit of issue there, a bit of latency there.
So the bottleneck is not with your hardware, lah.
It's probably more of the network, but I guess your network, what you pay for with your ISP, maybe matters.
So if you have a better bandwidth, then everything will have been better, will have been alright.
And I guess like if you use a network, like a network cable rather than wireless network, maybe that will improve also. Yeah. But networking, so many factors.
Yeah lor. Time to buy a long Ethernet cable, you know. Just like join it all the way from your room to your router.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's what I have. So I still have 2 more characters to add. I still have the audio to add, and I do feel like in terms of juice, right? I could have added more, but I think for Tarmania, right, this is a case of where I would just stop at it being good enough, right? Yeah, because it's a small game. I know what it is. It's tiny. It's a time killer, right? And after I'm done with this, I want to work on the next thing, right? Next big thing, hopefully.
Yeah. One thing I have to mention is that it doesn't seem obvious to me that you can press the costume button.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Ah.
Because like the buttons that that are meant to be interacted with, they have that flashing uh, key icon below them.
Right,
Uh,
right, right. But this flashing
and they
key
are
icon,
also bigger.
this flashing key icon only appears on Windows. On
Oh,
yeah, because the
okay.
game is also playable on
Right.
mobile.
True. Okay.
So
And like, so the position that they are in is also makes it kind of obvious that you're supposed to press them, but the costume icon beside the progress bar makes me think that it's just a label. It's not
oh,
a
this one,
button
huh?
to press. Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. And you're saying that because this is also missing this key, right?
Partly that.
Partly that, I
But
see.
it's also the placement kind of
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
it look.
I had this trouble. I was like looking at my mockup, man, and I was thinking to myself, oh, where can I add this button? Because you know, like the aspect ratio of this game, right? It's
Yeah,
weird, right? Look at this. The aspect
yeah,
ratio of the game is weird. It's not 16:9. It's not like a traditional mobile
right.
aspect ratio. And the reason why is because the game was originally developed for the feature phones, right? KaiOS feature
Yeah,
phones, and
yeah.
this is the aspect ratio for the feature phones. Uh, and when I draw the mockup, I basically set all of the elements with respect to that particular aspect ratio. That now
Mm,
that I have to add more things, right, I'm starting to have trouble squeezing things in because if you,
mm,
I mean, this whole middle section, right,
mm.
was never supposed to be there. Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
there's some issue there, lah.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, good point.
Maybe
I'm not sure how I would fix this though.
if you could make it look more like a button.
More like about I can make the gray part thicker, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe
Or if you
that
could
helps.
reuse the when so click on that,
Mm-hmm.
um, click on the costume. Yeah, you have these buttons on this screen.
Yeah,
And maybe it could look like these buttons instead. So
could
they kind of look like buttons.
look
I
like
mean
this,
the squarish box.
or
Put
make
a
it look
squarish,
more like the squarish box.
yeah, put a squarish box around the costume.
Ah,
Maybe
I
I don't
can
know.
try that. I can try that. I do have to take into consideration this is the amount of space I have, lah.
Right. So you might want to shorten the progress bar, so it doesn't have to be that long, right?
Good point. Good point.
Maybe.
Maybe. No,
Just
no,
all
that's a very
compiled.
good point. That's a very
Mm.
good point. Hmm. Good point. Oh, something. Oops. Something I should probably also talk about is uh. So I was originally a bit worried about how I'm going to do how I'm going to save persistent data, right,
Mm.
for this web
Mm-hmm.
game. Uh,
Mm.
because uh, for other platforms, right, it will be writing to a text file, right?
Mm.
And the file will be stored somewhere on your computer, right? And which you can then
Right.
read from and write to.
Mm.
But obviously with browser games, it's not that simple. Am I right? For
Yeah.
security reasons, right?
Yeah.
So so then uh, so then I started looking up online, and it turns out that GameMaker, right, the moment you write to a text file, right, like an INI file, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
GameMaker will automatically, if the target is for HTML5, GameMaker will
Mm.
automatically save that information, right, to
Mm.
local storage.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what local storage is, but apparently it's it's you can store information in it, and
Right.
it will work automatically. So that's nice. I didn't really have to write any special code for just for the HTML5 platform.
Nice.
Yeah, because originally I was looking out like how to save to cookie, right? But
Mm.
then I come across, hey, there's this thing called local storage.
Mm.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
familiar are you with this term?
It's one of the web APIs lah.
One of the web
There's local
APIs.
storage. There's local session storage, or is it called session storage? I'm not sure. But yeah, it's one of the APIs you get on the web in your browser that allows you to save stuff as a key value pair kind of thing.
How
Mm.
how how recent is this standard?
I think all the major browsers support it now. Probably was about 2010, maybe slightly earlier.
So
I'm not
it's
sure.
like relatively new lah.
It's safe enough to use.
Safe
You
enough
can
to
be
use. Right. Because
pretty
like
much
when we were
be
all
assured.
making like Flash games, this local storage thing was never a thing, right? No one thought about it, right?
Yeah, I think it was when we were making Flash games, maybe at the start of our, probably it came around the
After
start of our uni
HTML5,
time.
uni time.
Yeah, it's part of HTML5 lah.
Oh, it's the HTML5 thing. I see.
Mm-mm.
Ah, I see. I see. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So probably around 2010 or slightly before that, this local storage thing was probably around at that time.
Ah,
Um, yeah, I'm not sure about the details,
that's
but
cool.
you can be assured that it will work in any major modern browser,
Hmm.
uh, and except for maybe if you have um, um, privacy mode on or incognito mode on, then they might not allow you to. They might pretend that there's a local storage, but nothing actually gets written.
Right. So after you restart your computer, it's gone. After
If
you
you're
close your
using
browser.
incognito mode, lah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I
But
see.
it will stay for the regular mode until
Hmm.
you clear your history.
Right. So this is incognito mode.
Mm.
Uh. Uh. You reckon you reckon after I close this thing, uh,
Mm.
it will basically reset all the information.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's try it out. No, but yeah, it's I would love for the data to be able to wipe out so I can test it easily.
Mm-mm. But if you want like really true persistent, like the user comes back and it's the same thing, I think you gotta save it on the back end on the server.
Ah, right. Ow, loud, 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 loud. Yeah, nothing gets saved. Even the high score is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing gets saved, and it's not a skeleton here.
Mm.
So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so what is next for me? Uh, well, by the time we do this again next week,
Mm.
hopefully, well, not hopefully, but I'm pretty sure Tarmania would have been published officially on Poki.com.
Cool.
That's
Cool.
one. So what will I be showing next? Well, I will be working on that dungeon crawling idea that I talked to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I work on that, and at some point, maybe later in the month, right, I will start to rebuild that chapter game.
Mm-hmm.
So that two game is what I aim to have a working demo of by the end of the year, so I can take part
Nice.
in the Steam Festival thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So hopefully that will work out. Yeah. So
Mm.
so let's do a recap lah. What did
Mm.
you show? What have you?
What did I show? I showed my little shmup thingy that isn't yet a shmup, but it has networking in it, and you can. It has rollback networking with some input buffering and some rudimentary syncing of the start time. Next week, I'm gonna try implementing. What am I gonna try implementing? I'm gonna try implementing birds
Right. But why
and
don't
sing.
you also try making it such that I can play with you?
Right? Yeah,
Yeah, because that didn't work just now, right?
it's your fault. It's your computer. Something wrong
Yeah.
with your computer.
No. Okay. So that's one, right? Oh, so
Yeah.
wait, what? Oh, so some shooting and syncing of the shooting and hopefully actual multiplayer play, right? Like instead of
Yeah.
two clients on the same computer.
Yeah.
Okay. On my end, I did up the very basic progression system for
Mm-hmm.
Train Top Mania, right, where you can change the characters. And I explain why we are doing this, right? It's not like sometimes I hate to talk about this, right? Like, oh no, it's I did it because it's for monetization, but I think yeah. But I
It's
sometimes we
necessary.
have to talk about it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I feel like the progression system for a game like this, for a high score chaser like this, what I needed most for this game, right, was a high score table. Unfortunately, the platform couldn't provide a leaderboard support. All right, so then the only way for people to uh, play the game for a bit longer is through is by giving them this objective of having to unlock characters, and that's what I've implemented. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it, right? But it's yeah. So I mean, there's various reasons. Sometimes it's not just purely for the sake of fun. Sometimes it's you have to have some monetization. Otherwise we couldn't keep making games, right? Yeah. So that's one thing.
If people don't come back to play it, then you know, gotta find a way to keep people coming back to it and have a good time.
Yeah, and have a good time, right? That's the most important thing, and have a good time, Yeah. Well, it's just that it's part of game development, right? To also think about monetization, as you design your game. So you design your game around a certain monetization, right? That's what people would normally suggest. I personally really hate to think about monetization, right? And it's something that I'm trying to slowly learn, trying to work around. It's also, I think it's also partly why, right, I find myself slowly moving away from mobile. Yeah, because I very much prefer that you pay for the game, right, and then you just play it as long as you want.
Yeah.
I prefer that model. Yeah, but unfortunately,
sure,
right? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, nothing.
No, I'm just saying that at the moment, my most successful title, right, got all of the revenue through ads, so so it's not something. I mean, it's nice, but it's not something I'm very very satisfied with. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to say something.
I was gonna say that I'm sure that there's still a space for premium games, pay one time and play as much as you want.
There is
On
harder
mobile,
to find.
and who knows, like maybe in the future, mobile gamers will be more accustomed to paying for their games.
More
Maybe.
accustomed to paying. I'm not sure that all trends points to the opposite.
Things are cyclical in nature.
That's
So
true.
what
That's
was
true.
popular before
That's true. Who knows, right?
will
Maybe when we are 60, right, it will finally happen.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Glad we have this talk. Yeah. So which day do you think we can do it? Probably next Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next Friday.
Tentatively next Friday. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then I guess we can end it here. Hang on.
Random thought.
Random thoughts. Yeah. What random thoughts?
I wonder if the voice actress for Nezuko gets paid to just go
Huh? What?
Nezuko from Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Oh
I
yeah.
wonder if Nezuko.
No. She has speaking parts.
Yeah, but in a couple of episodes.
Yeah, in a couple of episodes, yes.
And the rest is just
All right. I think I'll end it here.